Now, ACCESS Ministries and the teaching of religion in primary schools is back on the news again today. The chairman of ACCESS Ministries is quoted in The Age today, Stephen Hale, saying that his group has been unfairly blamed for controversial aspects of the special religious instruction program, such as children who opt out being forced to sit in the corridor at the back of the classroom. Now, one of the parents has gone to VCAT, one of them cases, and in one of those cases, a mother called Sophie Aitken says she couldn't believe her son was told he was not allowed to work on a school project while the rest of his class at Ivanhoe East Primary had their religious instruction. It raises again the whole issue of opt-in and opt-out. I believe you should have to opt-in if you want religious instruction in schools and not opt-out, as students and parents have to do. Now, some critics, of course, and I'm one of them, have also raised concerns that some ACCESS Ministry volunteers try to convert children to Christianity, which supposedly is forbidden under the program. Anyway, on the line now, we've got a lot of questions for him. On the line, the State Education Minister, Mr. Martin Dixon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Derryn.
All right, tell me where I'm wrong on this so we can get a starting point. A, you primary school students, unless their parents opt out, must attend this religious instruction. B, it lasts for half an hour. C, most of the religious instruction is Christian from ACCESS Ministries. And D, it's costing the state and federal governments millions of dollars a year.
Most of that is correct. The only major issue where it's incorrect is the cost. The only cost to from the Victorian taxpayer for religious instruction in government schools is about $100,000 or a couple of $100,000 that we give to ACCESS Ministries to do their the administration of that program, but the majority of that money is used for their administration of the federal government's chaplaincy program, which is a completely separate
Which is
issue.
about $200 million a year.
Yeah, the federal government fully fund the chaplaincy program. The state government doesn't fund that.
Let's stay with this with ACCESS Ministries.
Sure.
It's virtually 90% of all these classes, the volunteers from ACCESS Ministries, are teaching their form of Christianity in your schools.
That's right. Any religious accredited organisation with accredited teachers under the law can go to a government school and offer a program, and the school under the law is has to take up that offer. The school then have to notify the parents, and if the parents don't want their child to be part of it, they can opt their children out. So that's the process. If the
children are opted out, is it true by the law they are not allowed to be taught any curriculum subjects during that time that because they're teachers in the room with the religious volunteer? The opted out kids get nothing, are not allowed to learn anything.
The law or the regulations following from the legislation say that students who are having RI instruction don't miss out on any curriculum or new work. They are to do some other supervised but worthwhile activity, but they're not to miss out on.
Okay, what do they do?
Well, that depends from school to school.
Their teacher is in the classroom with the religious instructor. The ones who opt out are feeling like they left out anyway because they're presumably in a minority because they want to be with the rest of their kids. I'm told they don't have a teacher, they have a supervisor. Who looks after them while their teacher is involved with the religious instruction?
Look, that varies from school to school, and depending on the size of the school, how the school is organised, whether there's team teaching going on in the classroom, there's a whole range of factors, and the school organise that. We don't give that sort of prescriptive information to schools. It's up to them to work out what works best for them.
But if a principal of a school doesn't want it, he must take it. I mean, religious instruction is an imperative, isn't it?
That's right. If an accredited group with accredited providers offer their services to the school, under the law, the school has to accept. So
a Muslim group or a Buddhist group or a Jewish group would come in and say, hey, we want to do it?
That's right. We do. As you said earlier, the majority are Christian groups. But,
95%. And one group, ACCESS Ministries.
Yeah, and so other religions, and if they're accredited and then their instructors accredited, can also do it as well. The school would then notify parents, and the parents then opt in or they opt out if they don't want their child.
Now, ACCESS Ministries supposedly not meant to proselytise, are they?
That is correct.
Well, how do you tie that with? You go to their website and it says things like, "Join the vision and help us transform this nation for God." Their topics are, "I can talk to God. God makes everything. God can be trusted." How is that not proselytising?
Well, there's a range of definitions. I've talked to a number of theologians over the last month or so over this issue, and everybody seems to have a different definition of what proselytising is. And what I don't like, and what I see it as, is forcing a belief down a child's throat and threatening them with that belief. And to me, that's not acceptable. And
well, a kid coming home from school, having been to religious instruction, and said, "Mummy, you're not going to heaven because you don't go to church." That's not proselytising?
Well, if that sort of behaviour, if that's what is happening, I don't know whether it's proselytising, but I think it's out of order. And we're always happy to follow up on any specific case like that. I haven't. Anyone who's written to me has written against the issue, has only talked about it in general terms. I haven't actually, all my department received specific instances where that's happened.
Well, but why shouldn't religious instruction be after school hours, before school or after school? Or why shouldn't kids be sent by their parents to the church or synagogue or a temple of their choice on weekends?
Oh, it's a good question, Derryn. Back in 2006, when the Education Act was rewritten by the previous government, there was a huge discussion on this. There was a paper put out. There was, right across the community, there were inputs on that. And in the end, the previous government decided to keep the status quo, which had been running for decades, and we gave bipartisan support to that. So it had a major review in 2006, and the sort of questions you asked were raised.
Okay, final points. I know you're in a hurry too.
That's okay.
Will you even consider looking at an opt-in for religious instruction rather than opt-out?
Any change to the law, it's not on my plate at the moment. We are interested.
Would you look at it? Would you consider it?
Well, some schools have taken, or parents, about 3 schools have taken this issue to VCAT. We'll look at what findings VCAT and what recommendations they hand down, and just depending what comes out of that, it may affect some of the legislation or the regulations. And we'll take that. We'll wait and see what happens. That's within about a week's time.
Okay, I take that as we will consider it if it happens.
If it happens, we'll see what they say.
Mr. Dixon, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Derryn.
Thank you. Education Minister Martin Dixon.